green candle. Yeah, that's a very, very, very small green candle. Then we got a third big green candle. So you can see it here much better. In January, we went up 40%. In February, we went up 0.03%. And then in March, we're up 23.66%. Now, there have been 2 other times where the Bitcoin price has moved up 3 months in a row. And I'm going to show you what happened the last times that this happened. And I don't know if we want this to happen again. You'll tell me at the end of the show. Cool? Got that? All right, let's do it. Let's do it.
Get the fuck out of bed, bitch. Go. Get up, and then they got go. Time to wake up, bitch. Get up. Get up. Get up.
All right, listen, if you're here and you respect the pump, then say present. All right, so Gonzo, if you're here and you respect the pump, say present. Yuri, if you're here and you respect the pump, say present. Dynaway, if you're here and you respect the pump, say present. Marvin Jason, if you're here and you respect the pump, say present. Gareth Soloway, if you're here and only if you respect the pump. Only
Sure.
if you respect the pump. Say
I'll
present.
throw you a present. I'll throw you a present. A pity present.
Wow, okay, well, so Gareth Soloway respects the pump. He respects the pump today. All right, let's see who else is here and who is respecting the pump. Okay, Jupe, you here, respect the pump. Omi, if you here, respect the pump. Don't say present if you don't respect the pump, because we're now into the 3rd month of the pump. There have been a lot of haters, but in the last 3 months, we've had a monster pump from 15,000, and now we are up 86%. Am I reading this right? Are we up? We are up 86% in the last 3 months. That does actually make sense. Hold on a second. Hold the phones. Yeah, we actually are. We're up over 50%. So the question is, where are we going now? We just had some economic data come out. The economic data was bad but good. When I say bad but good, the US economy is growing, but at a much slower pace than people imagine. So let's quickly just review the economic data. So US GDP, which is what we were expecting today, it was at 2.6%, which is a little bit lower than previous and a little bit lower than what people were expecting. And as you know, when the economic data is not good, that means that the Fed can't tighten. So for us, we almost say, okay, well, it's bad news, but bad news is good news. Then the other bit of bad news, which is good news, is that we had the initial jobless claims, which there were 198,000 initial jobless claims. In the previous month, there were 191,000 initial jobless claims, and the estimate was 196,000. So more people are unemployed than we expected, and that kept the markets. I looked at the markets a little bit before we started, and we can see the markets are doing pretty much nothing. The Nasdaq's pretty half a percent up, Dow Jones 0.5% up, Nasdaq 0.8% up. But where are we going with Bitcoin? I've got a theory, but before I talk to you about my theory, I know that our man Gareth has got some prior commitments. So let's get him on here and let's talk about his theory. Gareth, the last time you came on here, I want to say respectfully, I don't know if you respected the pump enough, because you said you were going short at about 28. I think it was about 28,000. Am I right?
28,450. Yeah.
Okay, how's that short going?
Out of the money by about $160 right now. So okay. I think we can all call that a flat trade right now.
Okay, but the question is, what are you going to do now? Like, it's all very well that your short's out of the money by $150, but what happens now?
Yeah, so for me, again, this is a chart where it just continues to chop sideways. Now, this could be consolidation. That's very possible, maybe even bullish consolidation. My issue still is that we still have not cleared this area here. So essentially, from the last time we talked, it was, Can we get above 30,000 and can we stay above 30,000? As of now, we haven't. What we've been doing is basically playing pinball with this support here at around 26.7 and around 28.7. So look at how you're just jumping back and forth. And again, you know, to me, this is just dead markets right now. I mean, there's not a lot going on. We're still waiting for that next bigger move to occur. And I think that's what's going to, you know, be the determining factor here.
So you weren't encouraged by this candle that happened for us overnight. I think for you it was also overnight, where we went up like 29,200 and then we came straight back down. Is that for you, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like when you see a candle like this, is it a hey, we started to remove some of the resistance, or is this, look, Bitcoin can't actually break above 29,000? How do you view it?
Yeah, so I think for me, number one, just a few days ago, we tested this 26,700 level, and it actually held. So I think that's a positive. You want to see that hold. You don't want to see a break of that consolidation pattern. So I guess for me, it's looking at this and saying, okay, guys, on the upside potential, I actually am leaning towards this, maybe making another move up here to the 30,000 level. In addition, I think we have to look at the 30,000 as being a very psychologically important level for the market, right? You know, think about the even number, think about where this was back in 2021 when the market collapsed in between the two bull market moves. And this is all around that 30,000 level.
Okay, so if I were to ask you for a much longer term prediction, because this is like you're taking, I think you call these scalp trades. If I were to ask you for a much longer term position, I say to you, Gareth, if you were to position your portfolio specifically now around Bitcoin and to not touch your portfolio for the next 3 months. So basically take a trade. I know it's unlike us, DJs, but I'm saying to you, Gareth, take a trade, hold the trade for 3 months. Where would you put your money on Bitcoin? Would you say that Bitcoin in 3 months is higher or Bitcoin on 3 months is lower?
I would take lower. I would take lower. Yeah.
Tell me why. This is what I wanted to dig into. Why do you?
Yeah, and so this is a great question. So number one, the psychological.
And by the way, have fun staying poor if you take that trade. But
I love you, Ran. You're awesome, buddy. So listen, if you ask me where Bitcoin is in 2 years, I'd go long right now and I'd hold, right? So that's not an issue. I'm a huge long-term bull fan of Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies in general. But the bottom line is that you haven't broken, right? So I'm someone who's like, show me the money, show me the levels, right? And the bottom line is if you look at this chart, we're right up against this level. So as much as my heart wants to say, okay, Bitcoin race higher, as long as my gut says, oh, I hope it does, the charts are the ultimate arbiter of what I do, right? And right now we're still into resistance. So until we prove that we can break resistance, I can't turn bullish, right? It's all about probabilities. Probabilities are everything. And right now we're still into resistance.
Okay. Let's play out the scenario. Let's say that I phone you on Monday morning and Bitcoin has broken through 31,000 and closed through 31,000, which, by the way, I think is going to happen over the weekend.
Okay.
What happens then? Then do you change your thesis?
Yeah, so basically once we get above 30,000 and we close above 30,000, I'm waiting for a couple days to make sure that it stays there. And then my thesis says, okay, now the bottom has been proven that it is in on Bitcoin. All right. So I know that's what you want to get out of me. You want that so bad. And I'm willing to give it to you when the charts tell me that it's there.
Okay, listen, what do you make of this? So if I look at, this is the Bitcoin on the 3-month chart. It looks to me like the 2017 high or the 2017 resistance now becomes this like support level. Do you buy this, or am I looking at this maybe the wrong way around?
No, that you're absolutely right. And then that's exactly where Bitcoin found its support, right around that 15, 16, 17,000 range, right? When we dip down. So that's a great trend line. That's exactly how I would read it. That is support. And that's why you're getting the technical bounce that you're getting now, which has Bitcoin, like you said, up about 88% off of the lows.
Okay, now I want to take you to another chart. This is the chart that our degens in our community, because we're an altcoin centric community. We're a bunch of gambling degen retards. I didn't say it. I mean, it is what it is. But this is the Bitcoin dominance chart. Okay, it looks like this dominance chart ain't stopping. Do you watch Bitcoin dominance? Is that one of the charts that you look at?
I do pay attention to it. Again, when it comes to trading in general, I don't focus too much on it, but it's interesting to watch, especially when we're going through a U.S. banking crisis and a European banking crisis. So it makes sense, right? That you have money from a banking sector where all of a sudden it reinforces why there's a need for cryptocurrency and specifically Bitcoin, that money is going to rotate into Bitcoin. And so it makes sense during a banking crisis that you're going to see Bitcoin dominance gain.
The question is, do you see this chart turning around anytime soon? Because this is the chart for us. This is like almost the chart of Max Payne. Because if you get a scenario where Bitcoin runs and the altcoins don't run, and you're dealing with a bunch of retard altcoin degens, then this is like the Max Payne chart for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I mean, if you look at if you call up the BTC.D chart, tell me what would you see there? Because I think that's for us the most important chart.
What is it? The BTC.D?
Yeah, BTC.D.
There we go. Yeah, so right off the bat, you know, you definitely have, so there's a resistance point right here, right? So that's, look at where we currently are and look at where price is, right? It's right into resistance. So you're into resistance on the Bitcoin dominance chart right here. That's, again, a beautiful, I mean, that is a beautiful trend line. I actually haven't seen this one before. Just saw it as I was pulling this up. But that, to me, tells me that we're consolidating just underneath it. It's still resistance. Can it break out? That's going to be the big question. But right now it's into resistance. You would say, okay, it's due for a pullback until it breaks.
Okay, so due for a pullback, which is good because usually when we get 48% on the dominance, that's when the dominance actually starts going down. Dixie, let's go to the Dixie because that's the other chart that's been driving everything. I did see it quite low today, 102.17. I see. How do you see the?
So this is important. This is an important chart because you had support right here. We bounced. We kind of went up just a little bit. And then look at now we're breaking that line. So assuming we close below here today and we confirm, then you got to think that you're having more downside on the Dixie, which would take us down to about your double bottom here at about 100.85 on the Dixie. So that this actually looks like it got the bounce. Now it's breaking to the downside on the chart, and you probably are headed lower on the Dixie.
3-month trade on the Dixie. Where do you see the Dixie in 3 months?
I do see it lower. In 3 months, I see it lower. Yeah.
Do you believe, or are you scared of or concerned about this movement around de-dollarization? I mean, we did a show earlier this week where we spoke about, it seems, I don't know if it's a narrative or a concerted effort by Russia rallying China, Saudi Arabia, UAE, India, all to start moving away from the dollar as a settlement currency and starting moving towards the yuan and maybe even the ruble. But specifically, I think they're going for the yuan. Does that like worry you? That, do you believe it? Are you one of the believers that the world is going to start moving away from the dollar, that there's a real risk that the dollar is not going to be king anymore?
Yeah. So for years, I've said that China wants to be the reserve currency of the world. And I think this is just one step in that direction. The biggest thing for me is that type of movement is going to take years to happen. So it is starting. You're absolutely right. It is starting 100%, but it's just going to take a while for it to actually gain traction. So this is, again, it's another reason to own gold. It's another reason to own Bitcoin on the long term. If you have that long-term outlook, then this is where you want to be. Absolutely.
So you spoke about gold. I mean, I see it in the chart behind you. Just take me to the gold chart. Tell me what you think. Show me the trade. Give me the 3-month synopsis. Torture me. Kill me gently.
Well, listen, bottom line is this, it's just an alternative. It's one more way to protect yourself. So, you know, I'm a big believer in diversification. I know you are too, right? You never put all your eggs in one basket. That's how we get in trouble. So again, you know, you have some Bitcoin for the long term. You have a little gold for the long term. If you think about it, Bitcoin is still controllable by governments. And that's my biggest concern, right? So again, if I have my money in Coinbase and the government comes in and shuts down Coinbase and locks it down, how do I get my Bitcoin out, right? There are other ways, obviously. But with gold, if I have a physical piece of gold in my hand, I can go anywhere in the world with that gold and I can do what I got to do. So again, I think you have to just look at it and diversify across the board. Gold's chart has a short-term breakout. It's still headed for double top here. I think, again, you're going to see gold well above 2,100 by year end, maybe even 2,300. Is there any
way in the world that you get a scenario where gold goes up and Bitcoin goes down in the next 3 months? Like, is that, would you say that right now it seems like Bitcoin is following gold? People want to be out of dollars, out of the US banking system. They want to be in something a bit safer. And it looks like there's a Bitcoin run. But you also told me that Bitcoin, you think, will be down in 3 months and gold will be up in 3 months. So yeah. How do you reconcile that?
So for me, it's more of looking at the equity markets. And I think the next sell in Bitcoin will come from issues like economic recession in the US, where we see the stock market collapse substantially, right? And so you're going to see another 25% down in the S&P 500, let's say in the second half of 2023. And that will just panic people into selling. Unfortunately, you're going to get this bleed through into other risk assets where Bitcoin also sells off when that does happen. And again, remember, you have margin, right? So people that are invested in stocks, they're going to get margin calls. They're going to say, oh, well, I don't want to sell my stocks and take that loss, so let me sell a little Bitcoin and bring that money into the stock portfolio. I think, honestly, that's what we're going to see. We're going to see kind of a secondary. It's not going to be Bitcoin related. It's not like Bitcoin has an issue. It's going to be more of a panic in the overall equity markets that will bleed into crypto.
So you're short Bitcoin, long gold, short US, short Dixie, and you are, I take it, short NASDAQ.
Correct,
short
yeah.
S&P, short NASDAQ.
Short S&P and NASDAQ right now, correct.
All right, I'm going to go long Bitcoin. I'm going to go long Bitcoin, long gold. I'm not going to comment on the other two. I'm not going to trade them. I'm sitting out. Sometimes the best trade is not to trade at all. Gareth,
That's
I know
right.
you need to go and open your streams. By the way, there is a link to Gareth's channel down below. Fast growing channel, huge alpha. Just click it, subscribe, do what you need to do, guys. You know the story. Gareth, much love, brother. I'm going on vacation. I'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Much love. Have a great vacation, buddy.
Great, buddy. All right, so that's Gareth. Now, we spoke about Gareth. We spoke about the charts. I'm going to show you something a little bit concerning on the charts. I know we don't like to talk about concerning things, but probably worth. Yeah, someone says Run only does longs because I'm always bullish. I'm a bull by nature. In my nature, I'm an optimistic person, so I find it very hard to go short unless it's going short on Aptos. So I had no problem going short on Aptos. Anyway, let's get into the meat and potatoes. Remember, if you are new to the channel, subscribe. Highest alpha channel in the world today, I think, on crypto. By the way, I want to know what other channels you guys are watching, because sometimes I want to watch crypto content, and I really struggle watching crypto content. I really do. I try and watch George, struggle to watch George, struggle to watch BitBoy. I do enjoy Ivan every now and then. Let me know what you guys are watching. I want to know what you guys are watching. Specifically, while I'm on vacation, I want to know who to watch to get the highest alpha per minute news on crypto. So let me know in the comments now who you're watching. Paul Barron, yes, I've been on Paul Barron. I like Crypto, but it's just charts. I mean, I can't just watch charts. I mean, I've got Sheldon for charts. Ivan on tech. Ivan's good. Elio's good, but Elio's not really making crypto content. Yeah, I like Coin Bureau. Love his content, but it just rhymes too much for me. I don't know if if you watch Coin Bureau, it rhymes. It always sounds like I'm reading a poem, or he's reading a poem. He's the one reading it. Anyway, Bankless is good. Bankless is good. In my mind, very, very good, but a little bit too ETH focused. You know, like you want someone who's neutral, not ETH focused. Anyway, I see you all here. I actually like this setup where I can see everybody. Chuck, I see you. Jesus, the chat's going so fast. Max needs coffee. Give Max coffee. Kevin, Crypto Dog, Raz, I see you all. Let's talk about, let's get to the alpha of the day, because we're starting now. We've got a lot of alpha to get through, and we're starting pretty late when it comes to the alpha. So let's go back to the Bitcoin chart, and you can see that the resistance has now become this huge support. But I do want to take you to this chart over here when you look at the monthly. And I said to you guys earlier that we are now approaching the third green monthly candle. I mean, unless something cataclysmic happens between now and the end of the month, which is tomorrow, we're going to get the third monthly close that is in the green. So you had January up 39.63%. You had February up 0.03%. You had March up 23.66%. All in all, for the year so far, and you can see it's a beautiful change in trend. You can see it. You don't have to be a genius or a chartist to see it. I just want to see, all in all, right now, we on Bitcoin are up 75.87% for the year. It's been the best 3-month stint, I think, that Bitcoin has ever had. Let's just have a look here. This one was pretty close in 2021, huge bull market, and 2013 was actually bigger. So what you are seeing here is that there have been 2 other times that we have started the year and we've had 3 positive months in a row. 2023, 2021, and this period over here. The question is, what happened next? So what happens after we get the 3 green candles? So I got Joe the Irishman to do a chart for us. And unfortunately, and it's very unfortunate, it doesn't look so good. So when we had 3 green months in a row, the next thing that happened was we had a 55% drawdown, and that was in 2013. But then we continued into a rampant bull market, which took us up about 1,000%. That was what happened in 2013 when we got this scenario over here. Then in 2020, let's call it 2021, you had the 3 green months in a row. You also had a 51% drawdown, but then we went up and we peaked at the 69,000 or just under 70,000 level. So hopefully, this is the 3rd time that it's happening. Hopefully this time it's going to be different. Hopefully this time we're going to have the 3 green months and we continue to go continue to go up after that. We're going to be watching that. In the meantime, what we are noticing is that a lot of this buying is coming from Coinbase. And Coinbase is primarily an American exchange. So we're getting a lot of buyers from Coinbase, which ironically is where the banking collapse in the US is starting to happen. You're now starting to get the Coinbase spot premium go up again, which means that people in the US are starting to buy or are really putting a lot of buying pressure on Bitcoin. Also tomorrow, Friday, end of March, we have one of the biggest options closeout for Bitcoin. So you've got 141,000 Bitcoin options, which are set to expire. Put call ratio of 0.4, so 0.74 put call ratio. Now the max pain is around 24,000. So don't be surprised if you do get some movement overnight. Expect the volatility. I still believe the bulls come out well on top here, so don't stress. I still believe the bulls come out well on top here, but just know that there is a massive options closeout tomorrow. It's the biggest quarterly options closeout we've had, and the max pain price is 24,000. Remember, the max pain price is where the bulls and the bears try and get the price to hurt each other the most, and right now that is where we're at. Okay, so that's Bitcoin. Next up, let's talk about altcoins. This is, in a nutshell, what altcoins look like. It's not a great picture. We're going to talk about all of these. We're going to talk about Arbitrum, 136. We need to talk about that because there may be a pump coming on Arbitrum. I'll show you the data. You tell me if it's going to happen. 1inch pumping as well today. Conflux pumping again as usual. Chinese coins, Chinese narrative, always running. But the chart that is for us as degens the most concerning is this chart over here. It's the Bitcoin dominance chart. We've been talking about this Bitcoin dominance chart for a few days now, and we do seem to be at that resistance point again, that 48, but I actually think it's a bit higher. 48.5 is the resistance point. And usually when that happens, or you can see last time when this happened in June 2022, which was just after Luna, you can see that we got into a bit of a run and the dominance dropped. And if you do zoom out, okay, let's just see if we can get a bigger, let's see if we can get a bigger Bitcoin dominance chart here. BTC.D. We're not getting a better chart, but the worrying thing here is that if you look at the Bitcoin dominance, we're seeing it as 48%. But if you dig deeper into the Bitcoin dominance, and you remove, so James Van Straten says he creates this chart which says he calls it the realized cap dominance. Realized cap values tokens at priced move on chain, which filters out founders coins, scam coins, Ponzi's, etc. And if you look at the Bitcoin dominance on this chart, Bitcoin actually has a 60% plus dominance. So the red is obviously Bitcoin. I take it that the blue is actually, the green is Ethereum, and I guess that this one is either BNB or one of the others. So it actually says you removed it. But what you can see is that you've got Bitcoin dominance at about 60%, which means for now, Bitcoin is about 60% of the crypto market. Benjamin Kahn looks at it slightly different. He looks at Bitcoin dominance excluding stables. So he takes out the stable coins. He argues that stable coins aren't actually part of the ecosystem. And he looks at that. He says, look, the Bitcoin dominance X stable is now 52%. He's obviously calling for the Bitcoin dominance to get higher and higher. And I really want to take him a bet. To say, I think we've hit the top here. I think we've hit the top. I don't believe that we get much over 50% in the Bitcoin dominance. As I've said to you a few times, I have been in the situation before where we've watched Bitcoin go up. And in the previous cycle, when I watched Bitcoin go up, I watch Bitcoin go up and I watch the dominance go down, and I watch Bitcoin go up and I watch the dominance go down, and I watch Bitcoin go up and I watch the dominance go down, until eventually one day what I decided to do was I just couldn't handle it anymore. You know, like that meme where there's that like pimple-faced kid and he's like, you know that meme? I'm not even going to try and do it. But that's how I felt. Until eventually, what did I do? Someone says, oh, I was on a 12-hour for dominance. What did I do? I swapped all my altcoins into Bitcoin. And as soon as I swapped all my altcoins into Bitcoin, you know what happened? The altcoin started to run. So I take it, I'm actually in the same camp as this Nebraska Guna guy who says, he says, eventually Bitcoin profits will trickle into altcoins. Just need to be patient, and you don't need to be the first one in. So you don't have to rush into altcoins. But at some point, the Bitcoin profits will definitely go into altcoins. Have rest assured that that's coming. And when it does come, you got to make sure that you're perfectly positioned for that move. You don't have to be first, but you do have to be perfectly positioned. And if you play it like him, you enter not at the beginning, but you enter when the altcoins start running. Then you got a bit of a confirmation. You exit somewhere here. You don't try and exit at the top. You exit somewhere here. You miss out on all these profits, but you also miss this collapse if this collapse happens again. So we'll try and play it like that. In the meantime, we are obviously accumulating altcoins, good quality altcoins. Obviously, we've got our Bitcoin position. I did take some more Bitcoin and I did take some more altcoins today, and I'll show you the trades in a couple of secs. On a macro point of view, so we had the macro news come out today. As I said to you, bad news is actually good news. You had the GDP a little bit lower than expected. You had the jobless claims a little bit higher than expected, which means that for now we're out of the woods when it comes to those two metrics. But actually tomorrow is the big metric. So tomorrow we're getting the PCE, which is personal consumption expenditure, which is actually the measure of inflation that the Fed actually look for. Now, the previous PCE was 4.7%. So let's see what we get tomorrow. Maybe I'll be live with you guys tomorrow, but otherwise we're looking for anything under 4.7. If we get anything under 4.7, number go up, market go up. Interestingly, I mean, you know why we're watching this? Because if inflation goes down, the chances of the Fed increasing interest rates further is reduced. And right now, as it stands, you can see that the market is betting that there's no interest rate increase in May. In fact, let's just go straight here. No interest rate increase in May, no interest rate increase one interest rate increase in May, one interest rate increase in June, and then starting to do or to stay stable. So one more interest rate increase in May, then no interest rate increase in June, and then the market actually to start reducing and to have 3 reductions by the end of the year. That is what the Fed is pricing in now. Interesting enough, there was a group of people that had a meeting with Powell. And it was an off-camera meeting. And in this meeting, something pretty interesting happened. So initially, it said Powell spoke to a Republican congressman group that he does for both sides, no cameras. Republican staffers are saying that he told them that the Fed would hike one more time this year. But then they corrected the statement and they said, no, he didn't actually say that. He said, Hearn said Powell anticipates one more rate hike. And that is as per the Fed's dot plot. So Powell cites forecasts show one more rate hike. So maybe there is one more rate hike before the end of the year. A lot of that we'll know based on the data that comes out tomorrow. Okay, so that's the on a macro point of view. I do want to talk about the decline or de-dollarization that we spoke about a few days ago. I don't know if you remember, but 2 or 3 days ago, we started to notice that something is going on. And we did this show where we spoke about why the US dollar is in serious trouble and why people may be moving on to Bitcoin and maybe some other currencies. Now, since we started to speak about it, it seems that movement seems to have got huge traction. You'll remember when we spoke about it, we specifically spoke about the BRICS nations. And I just want to quickly find it. So here it is. We spoke about these nations. So BRICS being Brazil, Russia, India, and China, and South Africa, plus Bangladesh, Egypt, and UAE. And we spoke about them and we compared them to the G7, which is Canada, France, Germany. And what we showed, if you remember, is we showed that the G7 nations have a decreasing GDP, so decreasing productivity, whereas the BRICS nations have an increasing productivity. And what we showed was we showed that Russia Brazil, India, and China are all starting to trade oil using the Chinese yuan. So moving away from using the dollar as the base currency. It seems like this is getting a whole lot of momentum now. And that a lot of very smart people, including Elon Musk, are starting to get concerned about the de-dollarization. Maybe people not using the dollar anymore. And we're seeing a lot more of these headlines. Like we saw a headline that says China and the UAE have completed the world's first yuan-settled LNG trade in a blow to US dollar dominance. That happened a few days ago. Here is a list of BRICS nations that want to be detached or have joined to be detached from the dollar. And here are the rest that have actually requested memberships, okay, to also be detached from the dollar. Saudi Arabia entered into a trade alliance with China, Russia, India, and Pakistan, and 4 other central nations, and they are considering using the yuan over the US dollar for US dollar settlements. The ASEAN countries, which is all these countries over here, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, all the Asian countries, they are also considering dropping the US dollar for local financial settlement. So you can see that there is a trend, and you can see just in the last 2 weeks, Saudi Arabia considers accepting Chinese yuan for oil sales. China and France complete the first LNG trade using yuan. Russia considers using the Chinese yuan as reserve currency. Saudi Arabia partners with China. What we are seeing here is that there's a whole bunch of nations around the world that A, don't trust the dollar anymore, but B, are kind of saying to themselves, hold on a second, by virtue of the fact that the US controls the US dollar, they seem to have the stranglehold on these countries. And a lot of countries are now turning around and saying, we want out. We don't trust the US dollar. We don't want to be held, or I mean, I don't know how to say it in a nice way, but we don't want to be held by the balls by the US every time we want to do something. So I saw 2 charts, which I thought were probably very interesting for us to speak about. One is a chart that we showed the other day, where we said that the dollar's exchange reserve, in other words, countries holding dollar exchange reserves, the dollar is decreasing in exchange reserves. That's the first one. But the more interesting chart is a chart that talks about a theory that Ray Dalio had. And the theory that Ray Dalio had is the theory that certain empires only last for a certain period of time, and then the empires crumble. And when the empires crumble, there's a change in currencies. Now, I saw this chart here, and I want to go through it to see if this mirrors what's happening in the United States. So it starts off with levels 1 to 8. And when you go to levels 1 to 8, that's the rise of the empire, that strong leadership, that inventiveness. Think of the dot-com bubble. They had great education, they had a great, strong culture, that great resource allocation, that amazing competitiveness, that strong income growth, strong markets and financial centers. So I think that's pretty true for the United States, and specifically the United States, the historic United States. But then they become less productive, overextended, they start losing the competitiveness, and they start to open huge wealth gaps. Now, when I start thinking about that, in the US, there are huge wealth gaps. This is where it gets super interesting for me. Let's look at what happens to them on the decline. They get large debts. They start printing money. There's internal conflict. There's a loss of the reserve currency, weak leadership, and then some kind of revolution. Let's go back and look at the US. We know that the US is running a $31 trillion debt at the moment, which people know they're never going to be able to repay. I don't know if you talk about the printing machine. We've seen the Fed's balance sheet, and we know that the US has printed more money than ever before. Let's talk about internal conflict. I would say that right now, the internal conflict in the US is probably the highest since I've been following it. You've got the Democrats against the Republicans. You got very extreme. I don't think I've seen periods where people have been so unhappy with leadership, but maybe I'm wrong. But it does feel to me like we are following this curve 100%. And at the same time, we're getting the increase of the yuan and many other currencies as base trade currencies. Now, Elon Musk weighs in and he says, look, it's a serious issue. The US policy has been way too heavy-handed, making countries want to ditch the dollar. And they may actually be very successful in getting countries to finally ditch the dollar. But there's another side of this. And the other side of it is to say, well, if you ditch the dollar, where are you going to go to? You're not going to go to the Russian ruble as the world reserve currency. You say you're not going to go to China. I mean, the notion that people will leave the US for China is, I mean, I don't think it's very, very realistic that people are going to leave the US for China. So where are they going to go? The problem is that, you look at the euro is in a shambles. The Japanese yen's in a shambles. The pound is in a shambles. It looks like all of this fiat financial system is in an absolute shambles. Now, I'm not right now saying that very soon everybody is going to go to Bitcoin. But I do think that when you look at the de-dollarization that is potentially happening, and you look at, the options of where people can go to, I don't believe that any of these are good options. And I don't believe that, in fact, any nation has good options. And so we could be getting into that aha moment when people start saying, look, we actually don't want a currency that is controlled by any of these countries. We want something that's not controlled by any of us, and we'll move to either Bitcoin or some kind of Bitcoin. So I just wanted to show you that it's gaining, this narrative is gaining a lot of traction. So yeah, 𝗵𝗍 says, right, said, is the US dollar going to disappear? The answer is probably not. However, 40-year high inflation and a banking system collapse have people question the system, and there are so many alternatives for the US dollar. People are so sick of inflation and instability. And so just for fun, I went to look at, the US dollar inflation is about 6%. So for fun, I went and looked at the Chinese inflation right now, just to say, look, if people were going to move to the yuan, what would it look like? And the Chinese inflation is actually 1%. So it does seem like a better option, or at least the Chinese are reporting their inflation at 1%. I don't know if you can trust that. So it does actually seem like it could be a better option. I also went onto Twitter just for fun, and I asked my degens, I said, if the yuan was available as a stable coin, like a yuan-backed stable coin, would you consider putting your money into a dollar-based stable coin? And this is what the vote is. It's 54% of people would rather keep their dry powder in a US-based stablecoin, but 45.9% of people are actually showing that they would actually keep their money in a yuan-based stablecoin. Now, let me know if we could run a poll here on YouTube. Josh, if you could run that poll for us. I see 55% are not concerned about de-dollarization. Shouldn't be concerned. It just may be another catalyst for Bitcoin, a big, macro, gigantic, ginormous catalyst for Bitcoin. All right, let's talk about altcoins. Listen, enough Bitcoin talk, enough degen talk. Let's talk about altcoins. So one is, I want to talk to you about a trade that I took, which is now $450 down. Exactly $450 down, $412 down. So I took a trade and I bought a little bit of Arbitrum. And the reason why I bought Arbitrum is a very simple reason. Because I'm not going to disrespect the Asian pump. I'm not going to I disrespected the Asian pump when it came to Aptos, and then only landed up making money on the way down. But what you can see here is that today, Arbitrum got listed on Upbit. So remember when Upbit trades something, when something catches, when something catches on Upbit, it flies. And I want to show you. So this is the Aptos chart with the Korean won. Now look here. When the volume started to catch here on Upbit, that is when we got the mother of all pumps. And then they pumped it up here, and then they kind of forgot about it and they left it. And it still held higher. But I have a feeling, I have a sneaking suspicion that this pump this Arbitrum token may actually do the same thing. It feels like the type of token that the Koreans would actually start pumping. So look out for it. And the way to look out for it is you go to Arbitrum on CoinGecko, you click on markets over here, and you sort by volume. So sort by 24-hour volume. And as soon as you see the Korean exchanges come up, you know that that's what's going to happen. Now, I also said to you yesterday that I do think that Arbitrum in the short term can have a run. Why? Because as I said to you, all Arbitrum's metrics are better than Optimism's metrics. And for as long as the metrics are better, the Arbitrum metrics are better than the Optimism metrics, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't get a higher valuation on the one from the other. And I'm not the only one seeing it. Everyone's saying don't fade the Aptos bid, the Arbitrum bid. It's still doing a hell of a lot of volume, and it just got listed in Korea today. So give it a little bit of time, and I think that we may get some kind of pump. I did tell you that we were going to get the pump yesterday. We got a 10% pump. Let's see if it continues. I am going to fade one pump. I'm going to fade a pump. I'm going to fade the pump from the AI sector. And I know there was news yesterday that Fetch.ai raised $40 million. And I think that's great for them. But I'm seeing a little bit of resistance to AI. And there's specifically this petition that is going out to pause all major AI developments. I don't think it's going to work, but Elon Musk signed it. Steve Wozniak signed it. Stability AI CEO and thousands of other high-tech leaders have signed it, right? Now, I don't believe that these petitions work, and I don't believe that humanity is going to stop building AI technology. But I do think that when the richest man in the world starts sharing a concern, and the guy who knows the most in the whole world about AI, Elon Musk knows more about AI than anybody in the whole world. I believe that if he's saying that there's a problem, and if he's worried that AI may be moving too fast and we don't know how to control it, then I think that's quite a serious thing. We've got to listen to him. Also, remember I said to you that you never want to fade a Korean pump, and we had a XRP pump the last couple of days. Where did the volume come from? The volume came from the Korean degens. So let's quickly go to XRP and just see if the volume continues today. Let's quickly go there. So here it is. Let's quickly just go to markets and just see where let's look at the volumes. Upbit, Binance and Upbit have the same amount of volume, which shows you that what was pumping this was actually, hold on, Fred's sending me something. He's saying, look here, mention this on the show. Michael Burry's back. Michael J. Burry is back. Come in. Michael Burry on Twitter. Okay, let's go look at Michael Burry on Twitter. If this is true, I think this is a meme. Come on, this has got to be a meme. But he's saying, I was wrong to say sell. If that's the case, then 𝗟𝗏𝗄𝗆 is still short. Come on. Hold on. Michael J. Burry. Let's see. Let's have a look here. Holy shit. Holy moly. He's actually saying, I was wrong to say sell. He has admitted to being wrong for saying sell. Now the only bear left in the world must be 𝗟𝗏𝗄𝗆. Wow, that's huge. Michael Burry is the famous short seller. I didn't expect him to say he was wrong to say sell. Another quick thing that we should talk about is somewhere where I think that you can find a lot of alpha and you can start making a lot of money. So remember that there's a massive narrative right now around airdrops. Everyone's farming for airdrops. People made a lot of money on the Blur airdrop. Then the same airdrop farmers left and they went to farm the Arbitrum airdrop, and they farmed the Arbitrum airdrop. And then now what we saw the money flowing out of Arbitrum and flowing into other airdrop ecosystems. So we think that there's going to be a zkSync airdrop, and we think that there's going to be a StarkNet airdrop. And what you're seeing is a lot of money is starting to flow into StarkNet and into zkSync. So how do you make money from this? Well, the first way to make money from this is to farm for the airdrop. In order to farm for the airdrop, what you're going to get is you're going to get people actually migrating money onto those ecosystems and using the bridges, using the exchanges, and using all the protocols, because that is how you're going to get the airdrop. The only way to get the airdrop is to get people using the protocols. That's how Arbitrum did it. People were expecting an Arbitrum airdrop, and so many protocols on Arbitrum started to be used. GMX, GNS, Gains, our sponsor. A lot of those started to be used because people were just trying to use the Arbitrum network to get the airdrop. So don't discount how powerful airdrop farming is, not only in actually being able to generate wealth for airdrops, but actually something completely different. To actually get people to use protocols and to get people to use exchanges. So not only can you make money by farming for the airdrop, which you should do, but what if you could identify very, very early which protocols people were starting to use, and maybe you could identify the next GMX or GNS which land up being on zkSync or potentially on StarkNet. And so that's exactly what I did. I went to our analyst this morning and I said to them, go and tell me, I see that this is happening. I see an increase in TVL in zkSync. It's small for now. It's 20 million for now, but I mean, it's just 5 days after the launch, you know, so give it time. It's 5 days after the mainnet launch. But where are these people going to trade? And so they made me a spreadsheet. And I'm going to publish the spreadsheet for you guys at some point. I just want to tighten it up and just make sure that we can actually recommend all these projects. But the idea is to look at the projects where we think people are going to start using them. So I'll show you how to do it. Just give me 1 second. I just want to open something here for us. Hold on. There we go. So I want to just show you this. So first thing you do is you go to 𝗕𝗏𝗍𝗍 and you look zkSync and you look to see where is the TVL going? Where are the DEXs that are actually being used? And you can see that the DEXs that are actually being used are SyncSwap, Mute, SpaceFi, and you can see that these DEXs are starting to be used quite a bit. Now remember, it's a new chain, but one of these, or maybe two of these, are going to be the new DEXs or the new GMXs or GNSs, specifically on the zkSync network, which, by the way, is a zk roll-up network, which I think is going to be part of the next narrative. So over the next couple of days, weeks, months, we're going to be populating this spreadsheet for you guys. You can see, like, for example, Mute, that's the website. It's a DeFi platform built for Liquidity Hub on zkSync. Token was launched in a fair manner, no ICO, no pre-seed or early investment, and it was GPU mineable. Fully diluted valuation is $45 million. Now let's just look at what Mute's done in the last couple of days. I'm sure it's going to be a huge picture, but hey, maybe there's some value here if you can get in pretty early. Is this the right one? I don't know if this is the right one because this one's been around for a long time. Let's have a look here. Let's click on, yeah, Mute.io, it is. Yeah, ZK Rollup DeFi platform. So this has come from December lows of 45 cents, now trading at about $1.11, and the high was about $1.73. So ask yourself, go and check out Mute, go and use Mute and see if there's anything else there. Then you can use things like a ZeroSwap or Zigzag or SyncSwap. So we'll publish the spreadsheet. We're not ready yet to let it go, but we will publish the spreadsheet for you. But the idea is to say, look, not only can you use those exchanges and bridges and whatever else to farm for the airdrops, which I know you're going to do because you're a bunch of degens, but also you can use it for something completely different. You can use it to try and identify what's going to be the next GMX or GNS on zkSync. All right, let's look at some other news. Gary Gensler yesterday was testifying, saying that he's going to raise a whole lot more money to clamp down on crypto projects. I did want to also mention our sponsor, GNS. So on all on all platforms, these guys are doing fantastically well. They continue to trend high on revenue, on TVL, and on users. So go and have a look at them. Use the platform. Go and look at the token. Also, they were one of the first decentralized perpetuals exchanges to list Arbitrum. So if you want to trade Arbitrum, and you want to trade on a decentralized perpetuals DEX, then go and trade it on GNS. Go and trade it on Gains Network. They are sponsors. They're amazing. We love them. All good. I think that's it. But let me quickly just look at the research group because, you know, as you know, I do like to bring you up to the minute live information. There always is up to the minute live information. I see this research group has gone absolutely crazy. Okay, S&P 500 hits highest intraday level since March 6th. Huge, because the economic data was good. Hardware wallet Ledger has raised $109 million at a valuation of $1.4 billion. Holy smokes, that's quite big. That's quite big. Trading volume on XRP spiked to billions of dollars on the 3 Korean top exchanges. Do not fade the pump, but do not fade the Korean pump even more. So I think watch the Korean pump. What else is going on here? What else is going on here? Michael Burry is back. We just saw that. That's huge. That is huge. I think that is it. Okay. I think that's it for today. So listen, I may or may not see you guys again tomorrow, depending on what happens on the markets. If I do, it'll be amazing. If I don't, I'll see you guys in about 2 weeks. but I may do some shows in between. I'm going to go on vacation. I'm going to try and stay off streaming and spend some time with the fam, unless stuff is happening on the market. So if I don't see you tomorrow, I'll see you guys again after Easter. Until then, have fun. Trade well, my friends.